So let me go ahead and look at some photos of the mod, and then we can jump into testing the mod. So here we've got the 6 2716 EPROMs in the socket. You can see on each one I've got VPP, which is right here, jumper to VCC on each one of these. The inhibit line that's coming from the inverter, so IC A2 pin 11, comes up through here and it's daisy chained across to all the devices. Assuming this all works, I'll come in and put a little bit of hot glue on these connections just to isolate them and keep them safe. So there's all the ROMs in the system. Get a little closer view here of a few of them, and again there's the VPP pin jump to VCC and the chip enable that goes off to that inhibit not signal. The other side, a set of ROMs. So this is that A2 device, the 74LS100, the NAND gate. And we can see here that we've got the inhibit signal coming in from the card edge connectors that comes into pin 13 and 12, or the two inputs to that NAND gate. And then we have the inhibit not, so the signal we've inverted comes out from here and goes off to the EPROMs. Looking up at resistor pack 1, pin 7, is where we picked up that inhibit signal from the edge connectors. So this piece of wrap wire goes through the hole here with that pin 7 of the resistor pack and is soldered in place. This white line here is actually silkscreen. It's not solder, even though it kind of appears that way in the picture. So we pick up the inhibit signal here. We'll just walk back through the chain. We bring it along this wire. Apologies for Rosie in the background, to pin 13 and 12. It gets inverted in the inverter. The inhibit not signal comes out through here. Comes up through here. And daisy chained across all the devices. Across all the way out to the end. And that's the chip enable pin. So with that, I guess we should jump in and test this. So at this point, I've got all 6 of the EPROMs in the system. The wiring has all been put together. I've tapped off plus 5 and 12 from the joystick port over here just to power a logic probe, just in case I need it. And I'm going to go ahead and just do a preliminary power up with the system in this state and see if I get the basic prompt. So here goes. And I do, so that's a really good sign. So we definitely have evidence then that the EPROMs are active on the system. And of course, if you look at the inhibit line where it comes in, this will show up on camera. See, that's the output. Where the inhibit line comes in, it's being pulled up to a 1. Hopefully, that LED showing up on camera. So the inhibit line that we tapped off is a high, and it's being inverted to a low. It's low. And if we get out here on the chip enable on the EPROMs, we'll see that it's low. So that's fully as we expected to see. So the next question becomes, are we able to boot anything? And to do that, we'll need to, of course, put in a floppy controller. Check the framing on the video here. Keyboard. Actually, we'll need the memory expansion card as well, so let me get that installed. Oh, and of course, I'm working in shadow here. Apologies for all the noise outside. It's rainy here outside of Seattle. No surprise, it does that here. And we just had a pretty torrential little downpour out there. Keyboard's in place. Should pull the blade back in on the razor knife. That might be a smart thing to do. I've got the diagnostic disc in the drive. We are recording. That's a good sign. Drive's being accessed. Nice. So something I want to do monitor this chip enable. Actually, I'm going to click over to memory and see if we can get it to toggle. So let's look at machine identification. And we did. That's a really good sign. So we saw the yellow, I believe we saw the yellow LED come on. So the yellow LED here will capture if there's been a transition. And if I escape back out, oh, we saw it happen again. So that's a really good sign. So what that's telling me is the inhibit line is properly being inverted and brought out to the chip enables. So that does kind of verify things are working as expected. Let's see if we can actually catch the LEDs blink, and we can. Hopefully this is showing up on camera. If you watch the red LED there, you'll see it flash as the system runs. So right now the chip enable is low. The EPROMs on the motherboard are active. And you saw for a second there that red LED flash, which was the inhibit line disabling the EPROMs to do something on the bus in that same address space. So that to me confirms that this mod should be a good solid mod to run on the system. So I'm very happy with that. That's a great little test. Where to go next with this? We are of course booted into the MECC computer inspector. Don't know if there's a whole lot else here we can do. There's actually a printer test. I'm curious about that. So let me power off, and I'm just going to add some cards back in, just out of curiosity. So someplace in the sea of cards I have scattered around is this GraphStar parallel printer card that I picked up yesterday, and it even came with the ribbon cable. If I can get it pick up here. Even came with the ribbon cable with the DB25 on the end of it, so I was really pleased to find this card. It's got a National Semiconductor 2716 on it. That's pretty sweet. I've mentioned in several videos I worked for National. I actually worked on the 2716 EPROM as a parametric and functional test engineer. I have no idea if there's a specific slot that card needs to go into. That didn't seat right. Try again. So let's reboot the computer inspector. I'm sure we're seeing, as we did before, let's watch that chip enable pin there. I'm just curious, let's go down to the printer test and see what happens. Normal text printing. Do you want to change the line width? No. Please prepare the printer in slot 1. So it doesn't know the card's there. And it thinks it's sending information to the printer. It's probably looking at the status lines on the printer and not seeing a printer, but that's a really good sign. It did see that printer card. And again, seeing lots of activity on the chip enable, so that is working very much as I wanted it to. Machine identification. We see a printer card in slot 1. Very happy with that. I don't remember if this card causes the system to fail or not. I've got a card here. Nope. I think actually I repaired the card that was pulling the 5-volt line down. Machine identification. It's a ProDOS block device here. Very nice. We should have a super serial card floating around. Nice super serial card. We'll drop that in this slot. Actually, excuse me, got to finish booting here. Just because I like watching it. Excuse me. I need a cough button. Just because I like seeing the activity on it. The entire time it was accessing the floppy, that inhibit line was high and these EPROMs were disabled. We're now seeing the super serial card. That's an excellent sign. Just because it did something, I'll go back to the printer test. Normal text printing. Oh, interesting. So we can see here that it's asking, do you want to print on slot 1 or slot 2? If we had a serial printer on here, we could print to slot 2. So let's just see how that acts. Do you want to change the line width? No. Oh, that's really sweet. Can I actually get in here and get contact and see the print activity? Normal text printing, slot 2 on the serial card. Let's see. No. And oh, hopefully that showed up on video. We'll do that again. If you watch the red LED here, you'll see that the LEDs flicker as the serial stream is sent out the serial card. So we're going to do normal text printing again to slot 2. Default width, and when I hit the space bar here, you'll see the LEDs blink as there's activity out the serial card. Boom. So that's a really good sign. We're at least getting data out of that serial card. That makes me happy. This is looking really good so far. What else can we throw on the bus here? We have a mouse card. Let's give it a shot, because I actually now have a mouse. As nasty, dirty as it is, this really needs to be cleaned up. But I do have an Apple computer serial mouse that actually came off of an Apple IIe that I am guessing will work with this card. Oh, that is tight. Yeah, this is one that was apparently maybe not backed all the way out when this card was removed. Been an interesting journey with this Apple II. Mentioned it several times. Never owned one as a younger man. Saw them in Salt Lake City at the computer store in Salt Lake. Was impressed, but certainly could not afford it. I did buy one of the first Radio Shack Model 1 sold in the state of Utah. That required a bank loan, so we've got the serial mouse hooked up. It's of course a ball style mouse. It'd be really interesting if one of the tests on the MECC Computer Explorer would see movement there. So let's bring the system back up, and just because I like watching the signal, yes. We've booted. Getting a pretty stuffed Apple II here. Machine identification. It shows a mouse or similar device in slot 3. Nice. No, there really isn't a test for this. As far as I can tell, nothing is connected to the IO game connector. Well, it's a good sign, however, that it did see the mouse card, so it's able to go out and query these cards and figure out what they are. And the mouse card again here has about 2 EPROMs on it, it looks like, perhaps. Which means, again, I'm sure it's driving that inhibit line. There's another 2716. I feel a window as well, so that's an EPROM, I believe, as well. It's a 28-pin EPROM. There's a PAL up here, 74 SC245, and an AMI 56B21B1. Don't know what that is. It's got a date code of 84 on it. Yeah, the card is 1983. Zero, 1, 2, 3. I'm not going to put anything in slot 4. It's got a bent pin down in the edge connector, and there's a little piece of plastic there to keep it from shorting across the other side. I will, in a future video, remove that edge connector and see if that pin can be removed and put back in correctly. I think the pins jumped out of the little guides that are molded into the plastic. So really, is there anything else I can plug in here that might be of interest? We have another super serial card. I don't know if it'll actually work in slot 7. I think slot 7 has to do with some video stuff as well, though I could be wrong. This floppy cable kind of makes this difficult. I don't honestly know if the system will power up with the serial card in slot 7 or not, but we'll find out here. Well, very nice machine identification. Yeah, it saw a second super serial card in slot 7. Very happy with this mod. I'm going to look at printer test. Normal printing. We're going to go to the card in slot 7. You want to change the line width? No. Let's do the same thing with the logic probe we did with the other card, and I'm going to assume the logic probe working as a lead come loose. So this, oh, on the wrong side of the connector. So assuming that this is wired the same way for pin 2 and 3, hopefully we'll see some activity there. And we didn't. So it's possible the signal's on pin 2. Slot 7. No. There it is. So one of these cards is jumpered for, I don't remember the terms now, DCE, I don't even remember. One of them, there's a little control jumper block on the card that controls the pin out on the edge connector, and this second card's got it jumpered. It's different from the first card, but we did see activity there, which makes me very happy. I wonder what it does with control codes. Probably nothing really different. Oops. We should just see some activity again. Press the control code you wish to test with your printer. Oh, that's probably not what I wanted. I'm sending control G's. I'm not seeing any activity. I guess if we go to memory, see if it sends something. Are these commands correct? Now it's going to send that series of commands. Okay. Press space, and there it is. So it did send those control codes out. So sweet. Well, shoot, I'm not sure there's much more I can say about this mod. Pretty happy to have this working and to have been able to kind of prove that this mod works. I'd really like to get an earlier rev motherboard, one of the pre-RFIs, and give this a shot, because I believe I'll need to add that jumper wire we talked about in the previous video underneath the board to pull that second signal high. Well, it's a pretty nicely loaded little apple there. Anyhow, I guess it's kind of time to wrap this ROM mod video up and figure out what I'm going to move on to next. So anyhow, we'll talk soon. Bye.